Good morning. Hello, the Knightling. So this is the review which I was playing on a PlayStation 5. And you gotta be ready to grab those Sabathon shoes, and it's time for an aspiring knight to take up the sword and shield upon his master, and all the while he is small armored fish in a large pound pot just because the poor neophyte knight is embarking on ambitious open world adventure. Saber Interactive are venturing into the perilous realms that reflect a certain enormous Nintendo franchise. The Knightling harness no shortness of ambition, but can this chivalrous chevalier fill the boots of its greater contemporaries? Or does it require more training and a good night's sleep? The Nightlings tell the story of a king in training under the gallant mentorship of Sir Lionstone. Lionstone takes the Nightlight under the wing early on, helping him to progress to his destination and slay a mighty foe. However, one day Sir Lionstone disappears, and the Nightlings has no other choice but to speed up experience and knowledge and take on the word to not only become the knight he always wanted to be, but to find his master in the wilderness. Our spirited knightly is a plucky chap, ready to eager to help out the local citizens with their needs and defending them from the hostile creatures. He's just a knight in training, however, and after you depart from Sil Lionstone, you're learning how to acclimate with your spliffing new shield, knowing how to utilize it as a melee weapon, a range weapon, and also as lead to slide gleeful down steals inclines with. The bond you have with your shield is a strong component to the Knightling, as it feels like a meaningful and reliable weapon with multi-purpose appeal. While it appreciable that our Nightwing fellow is always at your service, the game itself isn't exactly eager when it comes to serving up an immediately exciting adventure, preferring to push story beats further rather than throwing you into the board of forcing you with your excitement. The build is applicable, but when you start your tale by following under the tutelage of Sir Lionstone and then spend a lot of time learning and then solving the town folks' problems, it can feel too slow. Sure, it makes sense because a learned knight has to ascend with the metaphoric training wheels on his metaphoric knight trike, but those looking for a more immediate experience will find themselves waiting. The Nightling is a steadily emergently adventure title, refusing to throw you out to the harsh lands, exciting you to survive, instead choosing to accommodating and easygoing, which despite its snail-paced acclimatization the right approach, and it's backed by its punchy combat, springly platforming, and straightforward puzzles. Nimble is an art descriptor for the Nightling movements. The way he dodges out of the enemy attacks at swift and smooth, it is timed properly. He can defensively parry to keep scoundrels from becoming too overly aggressive. There's nothing particular um, about the Nightlings becoming too overly aggressive, but it feels light enough and is ready to enjoy and control. The sense of the speed can be bolstered with the purple mushroom like jump pads that give boost to bounce, and purple puddle like splonges on the ground that can provide a jolt of agility while sliding up on your shield. There is a lovely, liberating, and bouncy feel to it all, which wonderfully contrasts the heaviness of traditional knight in a shining armor. Knightly movement is sleek outside of the combat as well, capable of jumping up onto the platforms, like vaulting like ease or something else, well, who cares? Well, this in general, it has it gives you a good feeling of the verticality. The stealth ability is passable, but mostly because of the enemy AI docile, walking back and forth behavior makes it easy to harm to slip by with the notice. Puzzles aren't taxing either, and they usually involve moving boxes around to unlock the gates to passages forward. Some puzzles maybe a dab outside at the times, but they lend themselves coherently with the game accessible rhythm, meaning they will be able to tag to figure out the times. But the solutions are usually easy if you gray matter in tune with how the game works. Throughout, you might assume the Knight basic mechanics are dull and uneventful. It's throughout the basic nature that Knights becomes fluid and fun to control because movement feels accessible and adaptable. Now, the Knight isn't laying a new path, choosing to instead tread off some well-worn roads with its mechanics, but it's serviceable open-world adventure game that is light and endearing enough for youngsters to relate to. The Knightling is a childlike himself and tasked to find his way, just like children would need to find their way throughout the brigands of life without guidance at some point. Adding to the fieldness of this, it's simple because excellent sense that Knightling is a perfect counterpart to his mastery Sir Lionstone. While Sir Lionstone is burly and strong, the Knightling is completely small, light on his feet, and can flow throughout the air, skid along the floor with his shield. So, of course, he would have a perfect timing hero for a child. These days, they are nothing yet away from the comparison, and no denying that Knightling draws inspiration from the Legend of Zelda franchise, so much so that the Knightlet struggles to disassociate itself from it. Whenever its animation style or open world design, the Knightling does threaten to unfairly brush itself up against Breath and Wild, the Tears of the Kingdom. But admittedly, it's far more accessible than either of them and isn't rife with a complicated system, just a pleasantly easygoing experience. While it may be annoying, the characters speak like they have scars covering their mouths. The characters and their voices are somewhat reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie and Yooka-Laylee. Throughout aren't as irritable unless you sound of character speaking is a muffled way towards each other. And yes, you need to read the text boxes to understand what they are saying as well, which isn't as a huge issue throughout proper dialogue without the text boxes wouldn't have preferred. So putting up a brave effort despite all odds, the Knightling is a valiant effort. It's far more endearing than you might think. Like a protagonist itself, the Knightling is a small open world adventure, but is packed with meaningful quotes, bouncy platforming, and simple yet satisfying combat. The Knightling lacks new ideas and could be also too short and insignificant. But for a fleeing 5 or so hours, the Knightling is a small delight that deserves your attention. Thank you for watching though. If you forgot to comment and subscribe, please.